All right, we can. I think we can start. So yeah. So I mean, everyone over here already knows what this thing is. I'm not going to repeat, but yeah, this is a basic course in ornithology doubt clearing session, week 8, and I'm Jobin Varughese, the teaching assistant. Sorry. Yeah. I'm Jobin Varughese, the teaching assistant for the course basic course in ornithology, and I conduct over 2 hours of session every week for this course. So yeah, the first question for today is on your screen. So I'm supposing everyone knows a bit of permutation combination. That's why, I mean, anyways, they are required for a lot of statistics involved in bird study. This is like the simplest. This is like the simplest study I could. I mean, simplest question about permutation combination that I could think of. Yeah. Mm. Okay. I'll let others respond, and then I can ask one of you to explain how you got the answer. Lakshmi seems to have understood. Lakshmi, why didn't you explain what the answer is? I mean, how did you get the answer? Okay, anybody else wants to explain how they got the answer?
Basically, one ring maximum on each feet, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
So basically, 3 plus 3 on each leg will be 6 combination. And then each of the color can be paired with another on the other leg. So that will be 6 combination with suppose right leg, and then similarly on the left leg combination. But out of that, I think 3 will be gone because there will be duplicate.
Okay.
So basically, out of 12, there'll be 3 gone. So 9 combination plus 6 these earlier, so it's a single ring. So 9 plus 6 is 15.
Okay. Sure, Lakshmi. Quite a complicated way. Yeah. Go with.
Sir, I didn't quite get it. It said that one ring on each leg, so that's only two rings per bird, right, sir?
Yeah.
Is this a
And
convention? Maximum one ring per leg?
No, no. There are. It depends. It depends really.
Okay.
Sometimes
The individual also, right? Or the
yeah,
ring size and
like
all.
the ring sizes, the bird, the size of the bird, and how sensitive it is. Sometimes, I mean, two is the maximum per leg, or three is the maximum per leg. But beyond that, and there are rings with two colors, three colors, so you don't even have to put like more than two rings or more than one ring, and sometimes. So
I see.
yeah. Govind, can you explain if you can?
no, well, I didn't quite understand how we got to the answer. I
Oh,
only
Harini is like, wow. How many are there, Harini? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Seems like the combination 15. Yeah, but you you must learn how to identify. I mean, how to get two more combinations if you have more than three colors. I mean, because it is yes, n factorial. We'll use n factorial, but not n factorial exactly. So suppose I mean how I would do is in each leg you can have one ring 3c2. What is 3c2? 3 factorial upon 2 factorial into 1 factorial, that is 3, right? Okay. All right. Do you want to explain more, Lakshmi? Can you write it down? Like I don't understand. So you got 3c2. Where do you apply this? All right. So I'll just take over. So how I would have done it is, so each leg can have three combinations, and the other leg can have three combinations. Doesn't matter if both the legs have the same similar color, but that would be like one combination. So we can repeat the same color on the other leg as well. So if we count no ring on one leg, that would be 0. So there would be 4 options per leg. So red, blue, green, and 0. Right? So 4 options on right and 4 options on left leg. So that is 4 into 4, 16. And since we have to ring the bird at least once, why no ring? Because that's also a combination, right? Like no ring on right and a green or a red or a blue on left, or no ring on left and a green or a red or a blue on right. That's also a combination. Look at the combinations of that what Harini has shown in the above. I mean, there are R0, 0R, B0, 0B, G0, and 0G. Those are no combinations. Sorry, there are no rings in the combination. So 4 into 4, that is 16. And if you remove 0, 0, where the bird is not ringed at all, either in the left or the right, then that would be 16 minus 1, 15. So that's how I would calculate. I hope that is easier. I don't know if you get like more numbers of colors, then probably you can. Sorry, did you get it? Yeah. Okay. N factorial minus 1, yes. But why n factorial? What is n over here? 4. Alright. 4 into 3. No, that's too much, no? Too many, no? 4 into 3 is 12. 12 into 2 is 24. 24 minus 1 is 23. Harini, how did you get n factorial?
And that factorial thing is the permutation thing. I mean, if we are actually choosing 2 rings or the 3 rings for just one, it would be then just a
Sir, we
combination.
have to think of combination, sir, not permutation.
Permutation will be applicable, I think, for the left and right leg because they will be different. So that's where the permutation will come into picture. But just for one leg, it's just a combination. That's what I was thinking.
Huh. No, it won't be a combination because we are applying only one ring per leg, right? So there would be just one ring per leg. So there would be no combination as such, except for it would be four. So
Correct.
how do
So
we get four?
it will be something like 3C one. No, not 3C1 actually.
Yeah,
Uh,
4C1.
four four for what? Sorry, the leg
Because
is
we have
Sir,
the
red,
I thought three
red, blue,
colors and two legs, so 3C2 I said.
red, blue, green, and no ring.
Yeah, I no ring after only I came to know, sir. Before that I thought three colors and two legs, so 3C2.
How many is that, Lakshmi?
Sorry, sir.
No, how many is that? 3C2. I mean, what's the answer of 3C2 is what I'm asking. I think it's 3, right? 3 factorial upon 2 factorial into 1 factorial. I mean 3 minus 2 factorial. So that would be only 3. So, I mean, we all know there are more combinations than 3, right? So yeah, so basically, it's possible. So there are four ways in. I mean, or four ring. If we consider 0 also as one of the colors, then there are 4 ways per leg, and only one ring can be applied per leg. So that would be what that would mean, that 4C1 for left leg and 4C2 for right leg. So 4C1 is basically 4 upon 3 factorial into 1 factorial, so that is 4, and 4C1 in the right leg is 4 factorial upon 1 factorial into 3 factorial, that is 4 again. And since these two can be arranged in multiple ways when they are both together, so that would mean 4 into 4, 16, out of which we don't want the combination of 0 0 where there is no rings on the leg, so we'll subtract 1 from it. I hope you got it. So
got it.
yeah. Suppose we could ring the bird 2 rings per leg, then what would be the answer based on what I just said?
Then it will be 4C2 plus 4C2
Not
minus.
not
Sorry,
plus 4C2. No, it would be
in
into 4C2. Yeah.
into, yeah, sorry.
Uh,
And then we'll be again removing the 1
um.
because we want just maximum 2 rings, right? In that case,
Yeah.
and still there'll be 0 0 that will be removed.
0 0 0 0. So I mean, so basically 2 rings would mean. So also, would it be C2?
Only one to be removed, right?
Yeah. Also, would it be C2 or P2 permutation? Because in the
Oh,
left.
yeah, P2, correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
upper and lower will be different. Yeah.
Yeah. People got. I mean, everyone got why it's not C2 and it's P2. I mean, 4 P2 and 4 P2 both ways, both legs. Govind, Vedang, Lakshmi, Kanika.
Sir, was this math part also in the lecture?
No, but this is like 11th standard, 12th standard. I think.
I am a bit out of practice, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying this is not something that you. I know, but I'm just saying this is not something that you won't face if you are studying bird. This thing, ornithology. I mean, probably this would be the minimum requirement when you started. You have to know these things. So, if you get the answers wrong over here, it doesn't matter. But at least you know that this is what it is. I mean, this is what is required. So. Sure. Yeah, Vedang. It is. These are easy stuff, but yeah, you will need to revise. Yes. Anyways, so P2 because it's no longer combination. Like there are two rings on left leg and right leg, and 2 ring can be each pair can have two different ways of being arranged on the leg, The green can be bottom and the red can be top, or the red can be top and the green can be bottom. So they are like two separate ways in which can be arranged. So that's why C2 and not P2. Anyways, so we'll go on to the next question. Yeah, answer is 15. So I took this question from the Ecology and Evolution question paper from 2017, I think. Yeah. This is not exactly bird oriented, but yeah, this was mentioned. The rank competence was mentioned in Umesh's class. So that's the reason I'm asking. Haven't heard about Shannon Index. Shannon Index. Okay. So Shannon Index, n into log of minus n into log of 1 by n, or yeah, no, minus n into log n. Yeah.
What does it indicate basically?
I'll explain. Okay, but I can't. I mean, I can't explain right now.
Okay.
Okay, so Shannon Index basically indicates the number of basically. Do you know what evenness is? Evenness in a community? Anyone? How even the community is?
I mean, all the species in a community are equally, proportionately
Yes.
populated or something like that?
Yes. So basically, in an urban community especially, there would be a lot of crows, lot of pigeons, but there would be some forest birds here and there in a garden or something, but their number would be very low. So basically, if we arrange these birds based on the rank of their abundances, so crows, suppose suppose there are 20 crows, pigeons are 15. Then there are 3 more species of birds which are like 3, 2, 1 in abundance. So basically the crows would get the first rank, and they would be so they will come. Okay, I'll explain. Okay, so crows would get the first rank, and they would be somewhere over here. So somewhere over here based on their abundances over here. Then pigeons would get the second rank somewhere over here, and then the last 2 species would be, because they are very low, would be somewhere over here. I mean, let's just imagine this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is actually log base, so that's why it's shown it like this. But let's just imagine these are 0, 1, 2, 3, and further, like 15 somewhere over here. So basically the curve would go like this. It will drop immediately like this, which would say that there are a few species which are very abundant, and there are few species which are there but not so abundant. In contrast, if you go and survey a forest bird, yes, there would be a few species which are low in number, but there would be a lot more species which are high in number as compared to an urban community. So the curve would go something like this and go down like this. This could be for birds which are very rare, and this could be for birds which are very abundant, and there would be like a almost parallel to the x-axis kind of a line in middle somewhere. So that has a different rank abundance curve, and the urban community has a different rank abundance curve. And where just for example, where do you think the evenness would be low? In which case the evenness would be low, urban community or the forest community?
Urban.
Yes. So urban community, the evenness is low because crows and pigeons are very high in number, and the other species are very low in number. Whereas in whereas in the forest community, most of the species are very equivalent in number. There would be 1 or 2 species on the either side of the extreme. So that would mean that your rank abundance curve can actually tell you how even a community is. Yes, Govind, go ahead.
Sir, yeah, you mentioned that evenness would be higher in the wild, right, sir?
Yes.
But even in the wild, there can be differences, right, sir? For example, the apex predators are generally low in number, whereas herbivores are in high in number.
Yeah, Govind, that's what I said. There would be two extremes also. I didn't say there won't be there. I said there would be. There would be some species which are very high in number, some species which would be very low in number, but overall the number of species might be more or less equivalent. That's what I said.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. But in an urban community, the urban community, the situation can be very different, very drastically changed. So looking at a rank abundance curve, one can tell how even the community is. So in the case of R4, R3, R2, R1, where do you which do you think might represent the urban community more and the forest
R4
community?
will urban,
R4 would be urban and
R1 will be forest kind of thing.
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
equal
this
distribution.
is what we are assuming, that the forest community is very evenly distributed. But there might be forests where this abundance curve does not work. But yeah, we can always. I mean, there are always exceptions in ecology. But in general, the forest community is more evenly spread. So, Shannon abundance index is basically an index to calculate the evenness of the. So more even a community is, more abundance index of that community would be. So that would mean yes. So now people are coming up with the answer. Yeah, there are. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people got the answer. I hope everyone else understood what it means. Yeah? Shall I go forward? Any doubts? Alright. This is an easy one. Okay, a lot of people have answered B. Yeah, that's quite a easy one. Everything else are the collective nouns for other animals. Parliament is for owls, I think. Convocation is for something else. I forgot. Oh my god, internet is gone. Are people still there? No. People still there? Yeah. Okay. Sure, we got the answer, right?
Sir, what is a manual?
Okay, this was not a made up word. It's a panel. if you Google it up, if it's like those panels where people are called for speaking on stage and all, so they have like these 10, 20, 10, 12 people who will be called on the stage too. So there's a panel of discussion. So if that panel is full of males, then it's called a manel. So it's just yes, Dr. Vedang got the answer. So yeah, it was a joke. So yeah, yeah, the answer is leg. Lakshmi was asking, are there any papers related to Shannon abundance? Lakshmi, Shannon abundance, and there's one more. There are a lot of other indices of species diversity and evenness that has come up. Um, you can just Google them up. Wikipedia would be throwing at you a lot of options, and you can then just Google Scholar each of them, because they are very old indices. Like they must have been come up. People must have come up with these indices like long back, some 50s or 70s. But there is a scientist who Maguran. Yeah, you can Google this scientist and indices like diversity indices together to find out all her papers. She has like a book on these. I think that person, I think the scientist is a female. I can't remember now. It's been a long time. So she has a book on diversity indices. So you can look it up. Probably you can find them easily on internet if you know ways to get books. I won't be telling that online, like on this virtual platform. But yeah. Yeah, most of you have got the answer. Yeah, stationary associations are basically where, like we had discussed a little while ago, the assemblages which are not mixed species flocks, so they don't have the function and they don't have the characteristics of a mixed species flock, but they are like species come together for particular resource. Like in option A, it's for fruits or fruiting trees. In B, it's nectar for flowering bushes. And in C, these are like just water body that birds are just looking for water body for their food. Yeah. All right.
Sir, in the previous question, water birds can also need not be stationary sometimes, right, sir?
What do you mean?
In the previous question, the water birds, the C option, they need not always be stationary, right, sir?
I mean, they are stationary, right? So sort of.
Well,
No, stationary association. I mean, the association is stationary, not the birds. I hope you got it. I think a lot of people got the answer for this. So, intra-specifically gregarious birds. So, I mean, I hope people got the meaning of these two words. So, do I need to explain? So, intra is basically within the species. So, within the species, yeah, nuclear birds. Lakshmi, you said nuclear birds that occur in groups within their species. All right, yeah, in an MSF. I mean, I think Harini's definition could more be, yeah. You've just, yeah, Lakshmi, you've told me that intraspecific, specifically gregarious birds are found in a mixed species flock. But intraspecifically gregarious, the definition would be what Harini has mentioned in the chat box. These are the birds that occur in groups within their species. Yeah, that are social within their species. So all of these birds are known to be gregarious. Yellow-billed babbler, as everyone knows, they are like yeah, mostly gregarious in South India, and brown cheek fulvetta and dark-fronted babbler, more forest birds, and they are known to be gregarious as well. They move across the forest in like bunch of, I mean, in a group of like, I don't know. I think yellow-bill babblers are only mostly found in South India. They're not found in North India. If people want to correct me, I'll happily accept the correction. I'm not very great with distribution of birds.
Sir.
Yellow-bill babbler. Or is that a different babbler? Karnika, are you sure? Yeah. Okay, cool. No problem. Sir. Govinda. Govind, sorry. Govind, go on.
Sir, sorry, my question was, are nuclear species and intraspecifically gregarious species the same thing, or?
No, they are not. Some nuclear species are basically the important ones, and sometimes people take both the gregarious birds as well as the sentinel birds, the ones that are like the drongo, also as the nuclear species. So they are both, but the leader species are particularly these gregarious birds. The leader, so the birds that lead the flock are usually these birds. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But nuclear means somewhat solitary, right, sir? So.
No. This is not like the nuclear family. No. This is more
So
like.
it just means important in this case.
Yeah, I think it's more like the nucleus in the crystal, which forms it forms the whole crystal before. So I'm not sure. I'm just central
Okay.
kind of, yeah. All right. Yeah. So this context is basically mixed species flock. So don't think. I mean, think of it in the context of a mixed species flock. Probably I missed mentioning it anywhere. I mean somewhere. This is based on a paper. So unless until you have absolutely read the paper, probably you might not know the answer. But I just want you to guess based on, I don't know, what you understand. Edge density.
What is the increasing consistency in species mean here?
Okay, so
In the same type of species,
yes,
having the flocks together, day in, I mean, repetitively or something like that.
yes. So the pairwise bonding remains consistent in such flocks. Looking at the diagram. Tarun says B. Yes, Vikas.
I guess it's due to edge density.
Yeah, you can type it out. I'll reveal the answer in a minute.
Sir, here you by increasing consistency, you mean greater occurrences of mixed species flock, right, sir?
No. So mix. So when they do network, I mean this kind of network studies, they are looking at how many times is one species consistently forming a bond with another species in a mixed species flock. So that is the consistency that these guys are talking about.
The consistency of two species of birds to
Remain.
reappear in mixed species flock.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
All right, I'll just reveal the answer. So I haven't read the paper fully, but this is the answer: canopy height. Apparently, what they say is, I mean, before I tell the answer, does anyone else want to like speculate? Yeah, Govind.
Sir, this is just a complete guess on my part, but you mentioned that by increase, the question is the which factor would lead to two species of birds increasingly coming together in mixed species flock, right, sir?
Yeah.
So canopy height, I think, fits the best because it refers to a particular kind of niche, and if two birds are more likely to come together because of that.
Probably. I mean, these guys have also speculated. They couldn't exactly explain. For them, it was like the older papers have said that more vegetation structure would mean that there is a chance of more mixed species flocking, and canopy height is one of the important variable in a vegetation structure. Like, and so also the higher canopy height would also mean like a better forest, denser forest. So these, I mean, there's also speculation. But yeah, Vedang, did you copy the paper over here by any chance? Is this a link to the paper? Cool. So anyways, the name of the paper is there on the screen, and you can also, Vedang has also download the link for the paper. You may actually no, the next slide is about, yeah. So basically, in the diagram, these are the networks that. Just a second. Yeah. The above panel is basically showing the network. So these are like species. These circles, the yellow circle, the orange circles are the species, and the connection or the association between each species is shown by these lines. So the thicker the line, the greater association the species have with each other. So as you can see, in a forest with lesser canopy height, like over here, the strength is also less, the number of lines are less, but a forest with greater canopy height, the strength also increases. So this line is for this point, strength also increases. So that is what the paper talks about.
What was the strength, interaction strength you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing I want to understand in this particular question is whether the species that are coming together for mixed species flock, if there is an increased canopy height or something, are they actually of the species which are more or less residing at the higher canopy?
Possibly, that's very possible. Like mixed species flocks are generally mostly, I mean, it's not a proven fact, so don't quote me somewhere, but they are usually found in forests a lot. I mean, there have been a lot of studies of mixed species flocks in forests. not so much in grasslands and scrub forest. So yeah, that's a possibility. What you're saying. Looks like a sociogram. What is a sociogram, Veda? The network between people types. I'm just guessing over here.
Yeah, it's a similar diagram actually. You make a circle and then make the people sit, and based on that you plot them on the circle,
Huh.
on the on the circumference of the circle. Then draw lines as to who's speaking to whom. Then that shows the same thing. Actually.
All right.
It looks exactly the same.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this technique must have been applied from there. I mean, network analysis in bird communities is a recent thing. Like there are papers that are coming out. Like you'll see a few papers in the further slides, where people have come up with these papers in 2021, 23 on network analysis of these communities. So it's like a newish thing in ecology. So I mean that just says that how interdisciplinary studies are getting more and more important in all the fields. Yes, Govind, you had it out. Sorry.
Sir, my question was, uh, is increased canopy height and greater relation in mixed species flock, could it be due to the since mixed species flocks includes both salliers and gleaners, greater canopy heights allows more interaction between them?
Possibly. Like Karnika also has the same question, right? Yeah, Karnika, is that could it be because of central species? Uh, but even in open areas, like your black drongo, they they are mostly like slightly wooded area. They are found in slightly wooded areas, but they are more edge species, so they can be found in open areas as well, sallying and gleaning and stuff like that. So they also form. But yeah, I mean, it could be either way. I mean, the paper hasn't resolved, or they haven't tried to answer that question. Ki why is the answer? Why canopy height is more important over here? They have just found a correlation, and that's what they have mentioned in the abstract. So probably it's a good way of going further and asking the question why canopy height is important, or does it have to do with the fact that the study was mostly studied in forest, which are usually higher in numbers, so more mixed species are formed in forest than lower heighted wooded areas or something like that. So would they not be generalizable, right? Yeah, I mean, until proven otherwise, it would be generalizable usually. But
So the
yes,
study design is observational in my opinion. It doesn't have a control. So the temporality cannot be assured in this case.
you might have to see the paper. I mean, read the papers. I just got to know about this paper like today, so I could read only as much as possible within like the few hours I had to create this question paper. But the idea of this whole session is to bring to you new papers, so you can also read them and new. I don't know the findings. Probably you can question them. You can say that these are not true, but the idea is to, yeah. Cool. Anyways, next question. I hope people know what phenotypes are. So when you say mixed species flocks, they are like small in terms of number of species in that flock. So smaller flocks. So basically what the yeah, so the answer is basically body size. And so the bodies, I mean, for a small flock, the body size of these birds are flocks tends to have similar body size birds. Yes, yes, that's what it means, Lakshmi. At least when the flocks are very small in number, like small in the number of species and the individuals, for a for a certain number of individuals in a mixed species flock, the body sizes are very similar. But as the number of individuals keep increasing in the flock, one can see that the body size start varying a lot. And so after a while, the correlation reduces, and it's almost as similar to as expected by chance. So I yeah, this is again a paper. The paper is given over here. uh, Anyone wants to copy this, and or I can copy. I would have to find though. uh, no, so what it means is actually there's a beautiful so what it means is Govind is saying greater size always leads to variation. um, oh, what they mean by the paper is basically as the flock size increases. So the size is flock size, okay. As the flock size increases, the body size variation also increases in the flock sizes. I mean in the flock, but when the flock size are smaller, the body sizes are very similar to each other. So yeah, and usually they're all
So what I meant was the greater the size of a
flock.
group or greater the size of a sample or even a population, the greater the number of variations, right, sir?
That is true. That is true. That could be one of the. But these are, yeah. That could be. Umesh. Yeah, Umesh did cover this. All right. So this is based on a Chinese study. I mean, a study based in China. So China is usually a temperate climate. So the forests are also temperate in some sense. I can't remember where the study was taken. I mean, took. I mean, study was conducted, but do the reference would be given the next slide. So do go through the reference to see. Yeah, so it might be very particular to the particular forest, but yeah.
Sir, is this also with context to mixed species flocks or?
Yeah. Context of mixed species block. Sorry. Nobody said A option, huh? Strange.
And this is about intra-species related, right? Or inter?
Intraspecies. Interspecies, sorry. Alright, I can't find the paper. By Zhu. This is the paper. Okay. Wow. The link looks very this thing, but yeah. So the answer is basically plumage patterns and plumage colors. And just a sec. Yeah. So in the plumage pattern, what they looked at is the crest, eye stripe, eyebrow stripe, coronal stripe, eye ring, wing bar, contrasting rump, contrasting tail, and contrasting tail edge. In the plumage color, they looked at yellow belly, greenish, rufous white, gray brown, black, white black, others. And yeah, they also looked at diet, but I wasn't very sure of how to explain that. Probably, yeah, that's why I didn't put that in the option, but they found a very weak relationship with diet, and they had a very strong relationship with plumage patterns and colors. And yeah, they didn't pick foraging technique, foraging height and nesting patterns at all. So foraging technique, and I mean the whole point of mixed flock uh, forming together is because they have foraging techniques very different and foraging heights very different. So insects can be found at different heights, or insects can be looked or can be sought by different foraging techniques. So that's why I don't think they will have very similar foraging technique that way, because then they would mostly like they are intraspecific, like a within the species, the group of a same species or very similar species. So, and if you also look at, she hasn't explained that slide very much, Preeti, but if you look at Preeti's last few slides, you would see that she explains that the foraging techniques are very different within the species, within all the species of a mixed species flock, because they come up, I mean, that's basically a solution for how to bring out or how to flush the insects as efficiently as possible.
Jobin,
Ha.
could you try pasting that link again? This one for some reason isn't working.
Oh, I don't think. Okay.
Yeah,
It says
yes, sir. I neither I
open
couldn't
provided
open it
is
either.
not valid. Please go to the article page and click the PDF link
He's
again.
just closing right now.
Okay.
Yes, just closing right now.
Is this correct link? I had sent one which is about the
No,
paper.
no problem.
I mean, the title is same.
Huh.
Yeah, going on.
High association strengths are linked to phenotypic similarity, including plumage colors and
Yes, yes,
patterns
yes,
of
yes, yes.
southwestern China.
Yes. Is that the link, Sachin, that you shared?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, people can try that. So, Harini's question is, does that mean that the birds tend to associate with similar looking birds? Harini, if you remember that mixed species flocks, the benefit of one of the benefits of mixed species flock is also against predation, right? So more contrasting you look amongst all other individuals, there's a chance that the bird might be predated upon higher in that case. So there is this evolution. I'm not sure how to best to explain because I don't want to bring evolution into it. Yeah, but there could be. So this is also explained in the paper. If you go through the paper, you might come across this explanation a bit. It's in the discussion part. So yeah. Anyways, I mean, sometimes methods are useful to read only when you have to actually conduct the experiment. But normally, for a person who's just looking at a paper, it's the best to do is you read the abstract first, then some introduction if possible, if you don't know anything about the context. But then the results, reading the results is like basically reading some maths book. You won't understand unless you actually know what the method is. This reading discussion is sometimes very important. Yes, Govind, it did happen in Yunnan province. Anyway, the next question. Same scientist, different paper. How have they shown strength of association in this case? Vedank, I'm not very well versed with network, how to work out a network analysis, but probably you could read the paper and you would be more able to understand the paper because I think you understand network analysis a bit more over here. So, yes.
So was this in mixed species flux context or?
MSF, yes. So Lakshmi is asking attractive in what sense? So they were attractive in the sense that the bird approached to the speaker, the playback speaker. So basically, the experiment was carried out where they were comparing how different species respond to playback of different species. So the different calls. So first call was of the entire mixed species flock calling together. So they just had a recorder and they could record all the calls that the mixed species flock makes together. Then the second was the primary leader species. This could either be the gregarious one or the sentinel one, like a drong or something. Then the two secondary leader species. This could be the other two, which are occasionally leaders sometimes. Then there were two follower species which are never leader at all. Then there was one non-flocking species which never comes together in a flock. And then there was also one predator, a small owlet. So so there's this interesting thing that they come up with through this experiment. which you would understand after you realize what the answer is. So people have given the answers. Yes, then I can. So the answer is A. So the weakest response, B is weakest response was to the non-flocking species, which is understandable. Non-flocking species calling wouldn't attract other species of mixed MSF to come approach them, because them calling would mean would not mean that a mixed species is being formed. Then the response to MSF and to the primary leader was not higher than to other treatments, which is like unexpected, and that they have tried explaining that in the paper as well. The paper is written over here, the paper is given over here. And weak evidence that vigilant species are particularly attractive. Vigilant species like what they have explained is a species that is also found in India, which is the grey-headed canary flycatcher. So it's quite a vigilant species, and one can understand that if you're going through the forest, the first species to shout once you approach or once you start walking towards it is the grey-headed canary flycatcher. So there's an evidence that those are also their calls are also attractive for other MSF species. They approach them because they think that the MSF is being formed. And the answer, the A is the predator treatment had the highest response, basically, because most of the species of MSF are also species that are are also species that mob, basically. So they have mobbing characteristics in them. So whenever a predator is around, they are the first ones to mob that predator. So probably that's the reason, or that's the reason why the paper says that they have the highest response to predator treatment. Yes, Sachin.
I did not particularly understand the fourth part. I was thinking that vigilant species is the sentinel species like Drongo or something,
Yeah.
who's keeping a watch
That
on
could
the
be
predator.
true also,
So I
but
was
yeah.
so I was thinking that probably they are uh, particularly attractive towards any of these playbacks, right? What's happening? Mostly the predator, obviously, but does it really make sense that there were weak evidence that vigilant species are particularly attractive? What does that statement mean then in that
There is
context?
evidence, but it's not strong enough. So basically, when we are conducting or when we are analyzing these studies, um, it's not very straightforward. See, the analysis is not very straightforward. We get a lot of data, and we also take into account other variables apart from the x and y. So the x is basically something that is independent, and the y is something that you are trying to explain. The y is something that you're trying to say कि y is related to x somehow, or y is affected because of x. So a lot of these data is collected, like there would be an x and y definitely, but there are other variables also collected with it, with the x and y, so that they can be accounted for while this analysis is happening. So sometimes what happens is some of the best you don't tend to form a very good models, even though, what because you have not collected the correct variables when you were collecting the samples. So the strength of the association, or whatever the association, is not seen very properly during the analysis, because of the other variables that were accounted for are not the right variables. So sometimes they get there's a lot of noise. So obviously they have, if you read the paper, you'll also get like um, weak evidence just means that there is evidence. It doesn't mean that there is no evidence, or the it's like it's avoidable, or it's not worth studying or something. There is evidence, so just
Okay,
yeah.
but vigilant species was actually a part of MSF or
Yes, it was part of the MSF. Yeah.
okay? Thank you.
Uh, sorry, Roosbeh. Yes, I don't know if you guys know of, is the p-value given for the strength of association. I don't think people use p-values anymore, Vedam. But p-value is a very old school think people may use it, may not use it, but the p-values are best when you're doing very strict, rigorous experimental studies where you have a control, a treatment. So that's where the p-values work very well. But in ecology, such experiments are not possible. I mean, you can't remove a predator from the entire forest and then conduct an experiment. You can't remove like a primary leader species to see how it is affected. So it's sometimes not possible. So no, not oh, strength of association, that matter. Yeah, what you can do is the study design. It's basically that's like another course in itself. I mean, what Suhel touched, the study design, that part is very basic. I mean, there's another professor called Kavita Ishwaran. She's very strong in study design. If you look at her paper, probably you'll understand how study design can basically help you in understanding this relationship, where the strength of association is not just correlation. You can actually understand a little, or at least you can understand that it's more than correlation. It's actually there is like x is being, or x is affecting the y in some way. Link is shared. I'll just write her name over here. Probably you can Google Scholar her up. It would be easier. There are a lot of papers. Her papers are usually on agamas, those lizards, and then they are also on a black buck. So there are a few here and there on birds, but yeah, the agama study is basically what her lab focus is. So those studies are very well designed, and they look for. So basically, a study design is basically looking for loopholes and removing those and collecting data to get to be able to remove those loopholes. So yeah, I mean, I think there are a few lectures, online lectures of hers online as well. So probably you can look her up and her classes, and probably you'll understand study design more. So yeah.
Sir,
Yes, Govind.
sir, how is option C correct, sir? I would assume the leader would be more attractive than.
I know, but I mean, everyone over here would have assumed that, but according to this paper, they don't have much higher response as compared to the other treatments.
So does option C mean that the leader is actually comes into play after the flocks are formed and not before?
That could be true, and that could be true for very specific forest birds that these people have studied. Might not true for all. It might not be a generalizable statement.
I mean, these responses are taken before the flock mixed species flocks are formed, right, sir? So maybe the leader would be attractive only after the flock is formed itself, not before.
Possible. I think yeah, you might have to read the paper to understand a little bit more about the context, but yeah. Anyways, the next question. Oh shit. Sorry. In the recording, yes, I think they will be, but you might not. You might have to type the entire thing. Anyway, the name of the paper would be there in the recording, so you can type it up and take it. So this is again a network analysis where they were looking at different pairs of birds species within the flocks, along an elevation gradient. So basically, from lower elevation to higher elevation, they were seeing if the species occurrences change based on the elevation. Yeah. All right. B and C. Okay, when they say mountain mixed species flocks, they are talking about the entire mountain from lower elevation to higher elevation. They're not just saying about the upper part.
Can there be mixed species flock across such a wider range of geographical location, meaning area-wise?
I mean, you're talking about a particular flock.
Yeah, some specific flock. If I'm talking about, can it be actually spread across larger area?
If the birds are found everywhere, then they can be, right?
No, no. I mean to say, suppose there is a flock of maybe 5 species
Oh.
and maybe total 50 or 100 individuals.
Yeah.
But can they be spread across like 1 hectare of land or a bigger area? I'm trying to understand. Or will they will be closely located? Isn't it? That's I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to understand.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They will be closely located, but
Closely
they will
located.
move for a large distance. That is true.
Okay, okay.
And if you look at Preeti's paper or somebody else's paper, they have mentioned like what do you call Preeti's or even Priyanka Hariharan. She has recently come up with 2 papers on mixed species flock. So they have mentioned if you look at their papers, the methodology, they have mentioned like what is the minimum radius beyond which they don't consider the bird to be in that particular flock. So that's like 500 meter or something like that. So
Okay.
yeah. All right. The answer is basically all are true. None of them is false. So yeah, I mean this paper has to be read. The I cannot. Yeah. Uh, most of the species are loosely connected across the elevation gradient, but as you go higher in the elevation, the number of species reduces definitely. Like the number of species in the lower elevations is much higher than what is available in the higher elevation, but the association with the species on the higher elevation is much stronger. So they don't form connections with every other species, but they form like consistent connection with one particular species. So flocks in lower elevation have more connection, but I mean, they are not as cohesive as possible, or at least not as consistent. But association strength increases at a higher elevation. So, yeah.
Hey, can you explain the difference between association and the connection? Does it actually mean more connection, meaning that because there are more points to be connected with
More
the species
species to be
point?
connected. More species
Yeah,
to be
species
connected.
points,
Yeah.
and the association is more about the stronger bond, so that they are not loosely connected. That's what they
Yeah.
will always try to pair
Be
with those
together.
species.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically like I have 7 brothers. I have connection with all of them, but I only have strong bond with my with the third. I'm if I'm the eldest one, I'll have strong connection with my second brother, like who comes. So that association is stronger, but I have connections with everyone. So that's the whole. I interact with him more than the other brothers. I mean, very stupid, silly analogy, but yeah. It's kind of an unwritten rule not to choose none of the above. Yeah. Okay, we are back to Umesh's lecture.
Sir,
Yeah.
in the previous question, option A was for the entire mountain.
Yeah.
Option A was that all species, mixed species flocks throughout the mountain don't form proper connections.
Mostly don't form. They all have loose connections. They don't have strong associations.
But
Yeah.
then, if the elevation increases, then
This
wouldn't I thought?
association starts getting stronger.
I see, sir.
Yeah.
But don't those two seem contradictory? Option A and option B.
Read the paper. Anyways, yeah, I think all of you have given the answer to this one. Yes, this is very straightforward. All the species in a community cannot be sampled. Some of the species have a very low detection probability, something like a Nilgiri thrush or something. They don't even call properly. Then individuals of a population cannot be all individuals of a population cannot be sampled. Yeah, that is very straightforward. All if you are sampling all individuals, then that's basically a census, not a sampling. Then entire habitat landscape cannot be sampled. Obviously, some places would have steep slope or very dense vegetation, which has to be given up, so it cannot be sampled. But yeah, I mean, there are ways in which that can be circumvented. But yeah. All right, next question. Yeah, the option B is basically, I mean, have made a little grammatical mistake over there. Since the detection probability of woodpeckers is high, the number of woodpeckers might be lower than that of thrushes. The thrushes are with the low detection probability. Rusbe has a point though. But Govind, if your observer, the observer that you have on the field, is more likely to detect a particular bird, then that is also one of the detection probabilities. The probability of detection, that is also counted as a probability. The observer experience is also counted in the detection probability. So you have to take care of those as well. You have to become personal when it comes to bird detection.
I know, sir, but in the point of view, I feel it's unlikely that thrushes would be the more easily detected than woodpeckers.
How?
based
I
on
mean, no. I mean, that see, it all depends on what you. So, I mean, I'm taking a personal example over here. I wasn't very attuned to a white eyes call for the longest time, and yeah, I just didn't know the white eyes would be around so many. But once I got to know what the call of a white eye is, they're everywhere. So it's just like that. I mean, and the opposite can also be true. Once you get to know a call of the bird, which could be one of the bird with a low detection probability, but you could be really good at hearing that, and you could be really good at exactly focusing and pointing out that the bird is present over there. So, I mean, it can be anything, anyone. Do you get my point, Govin?
Yes, sir. Well, I did consider option D as well.
Yeah.
I just lean towards B.
Okay. Anyways. Well, this is also one of. Yes, yes, Karnika. I mean, Karnika, it's a very important thing, yeah. I mean, for example, we have this birder in our lab. Now, when he goes for birding, it could be a 15-minute checklist, but he would be able to sample like 50 birds at once, and we would be like, yeah, probably 20, 25 max. Now he has the ears of like one of those hounds. I mean, hounds are more known for their noses, but you understand my analogy. So he has those ears, so he's just attuned to certain birds, and he'll just recognize all the bird calls, and based on that, he'll be able to tell that he could basically detect like over 50 bird species in 15 minutes. So that's like a that's like a next level of observer to have in your count. I mean, in your survey. But comparing that with someone who's a novice or someone who's also like a mid-level kind of a birder, that's like totally unfair. So yes, forest birding is mostly about calls. If you, I've never had the opportunity to bird with Trevor Price. If you've heard of his name, Trevor Price, he's also a big bird scientist, and University of Chicago. Yeah, Chicago University, one of these. So, anyways, he's also a big scientist, and he normally studies birds of Himalayas, eastern Himalayas, and western as well. And he does his transect like that, like goes and doesn't even bother looking at the bird from through his binoculars or anything. Listens to the bird, puts it on the whatever eBird or whatever checklist, and that's all. That's all. So, like one of those people. Yeah, Govind, it doesn't usually work, the bribe part. What usually works is the confidence part sometimes. And the age part. In Tamil Nadu and Kerala, that is. Anyways, let's look at the answer for this. It was a very straightforward question, but basically, point count, distance sampling, transect study are all passive survey. Like you don't have to catch the bird, you just have to observe them. Observational study. Mark recapture method is the only one where you have to actually catch a bird, and that is so that comes under this section of hunting. Uh, so even though you're not killing the bird, but it's still called hunting. And if your methodology requires hunting, then that becomes that needs a separate permit from the government, and the forest department can only help so much. So yeah.
So you mean that in this kind of uh, mm, study which requires mark recapture, I'll have to go to the central forest department
You
and
won't have to. They'll send your application to the center. You just have to keep reminding the center, like
okay.
secretariat, to hello sir, please do something, sir. So that's what's
Sir,
happening in our lab right now. So yeah.
sir, do you agree with mark recapture being considered as a form of hunting?
No, but I don't think. I don't. I mean, you can come up with the latest techniques of thing, but it has to somehow be understandable for the people who of that generation, or the people who are not aware of that these things happen. So for that it's called hunting, but basically you're catching a bird. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not in favor or against of it. It's just a way of how you call it. I mean, it's just a name. So yeah.
Well, if it wasn't called hunting, then a lot more people would be using that method, and it can lead to a lot more injuries or killings of birds. So I think that might also be a reason.
Yeah, possibly. Not sure. Oh, you perceive the strictness of the FT in terms of movement inside the forest. But yeah, mark recapture involves a lot of yeah. Yeah, different perspectives. I'm sorry, but this is my perspective. Sorry, this question was basically me. Sorry. All right, the next question. Well, I don't. I so a lot of lately a lot of memes have come up where people say, "Oh, I am doing this. What use was differential equation for me? Why was it taught to me in the school?" I don't generally agree with all those memes, just because a lot of these things are taught to you. Probably you'll use them, probably you'll not. But I mean, someone like a bird scientist might use them. But yeah, I mean, you're also forgetting the whole. You're stretching your brain to that level so that your brain can pick up a lot of other things. So
I have a different perspective on the same aspect, that although I'm not using it directly, I am using its application.
yeah.
So I might not be designing that particular thing using the trigonometry or geometric or physical formulas or something, but I might be using something that is designed using those formulae or those things. So that's what I usually think. Although sometimes I may not be knowing those things at some parts, like for example, biology or something. Now, all those things which we might have studied in the class, that's coming here while I'm studying ornithology. So probably, yeah.
Yeah, true, very true. Anyways, so Sachin, most of you have said A. The answer is actually A. So sine theta is basically the opposite upon hypotenuse. So that would mean that y by x equal to sine theta. So y is equal to x into sine theta. All right.
So what was cosecant theta again?
1 by
1 by sine, right, sir?
1 by
1
sine
by
is cosec and 1 by cos is sec.
Cos is adjacent upon hypotenuse.
Yeah,
Sine is opposite upon hypotenuse.
yeah.
And tan is opposite upon adjacent.
Adjacent.
In a right angle triangle, obviously.
All
Sir,
right.
what is tan 1 by theta or 1 by tan?
That is cotan.
Cot, right, sir?
Cot.
Cotan.
Cot.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anyways,
So you were asking about the cosec and other things.
yeah.
Okay.
Cosec is 1 by cos. 1 by sine. Sec is 1 by cos. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Yeah. All right. Everyone's saying A is the answer. Wait, who all said A is the answer? Where's the answer? 38. So starting from Rusbe, Govind, Amarnath, Vedang, Rashri, Agasan. Sachin says D is the answer. So everyone thinks that only the effective strip width would only be different for a species, but not for habitat. It'll be would the strip width would be the same for say for example a forest and a very disturbed secondary forest or a very disturbed habitat kind of, I mean, yeah, secondary forest basically, or even a scrub forest. The same kind of birds are there in both of them, but because scrub is more open, you might be able to see birds much easier. So the strip width might change in a different habitat, and the same goes for sampling technique. So actually, all of the statements from A to C are true. So basically, the answer is D. None of the above.
So I didn't get how A would be true.
So okay. So we did mention that this the okay. Some birds are more comfortable where at a particular distance from humans. So some birds can come quite close to humans, and some birds would rather stay like a distance away from the human beings. And they even if you get like 50-meter closer, like even if you are at 50 meter, they'll keep that distance maintained. If you have, I mean, you must have seen when you're following like a pompadour pigeon or something, they'll keep flying to a different tree. Even if you keep following it, they'll have that distance maintained. So the if that distance between the observer and the bird will be more or less the same in that context. But some birds, like for example a myna, which are quite used to the human presence, can come very close to a human being. So that distance that the strip width would also be different in both these cases. Did you understand the problem? I mean,
Yes, sir. Depends on the species sensitivity.
yeah. Also, it basically depends on the detection of the species. Some birds, yeah.
So, in that sense, you can design a survey that has, I mean, that kind of takes this into consideration when you are designing the protocol.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, what I when I was watching Umesh's lecture, I was assuming that the effective strip width would be for all the species, like one strip width, but that might not be true. I mean, for different species there could be different strip width. So based on how far did you detect the species. Some species are naturally very distant from human beings, and some species can come very close to human beings. Some species are very loud, so even if they are very far away, you can still detect them. But some species are very not so loud and cannot be detected until they are very close to you. So they'll have different strip width individually, like species wise. It kind of goes against the norm. What norm we talking about, Govind? Govind? Oh, none of the above. Okay.
Hey,
Any? Ha.
Jobin, one question here. So, when we actually just hear the sound of the species, do we actually predict the distance for that in sampling?
So it depends. Like if you read the methodologies carefully, there's this book called Bibi et al., which is I can't remember the year of the book. I think 2006 or 96 or something, some six. But anyways, so it's one of the famous books used for bird sampling techniques and all. What they usually do is, if you hear a bird from a bush, you probably find out the distance of the bush from the observer. If you find a bush from, or if you hear a call from the canopy, you probably, and you don't see the bird, but you know that the bird is there in the canopy, you probably note the distance of the canopy or wherever, like a rough distance from the observer. So that's how people generally do it. Yes.
Okay.
What's the author of the book again? You said BB something.
Let me just get the BB et al. For bird survey. Yeah. Anyways, the next question. So, first line is for the first diagram. The second line is for the second diagram. The question is for the rest of the line. Okay, axes. The x-axis is usually the distance from the observer. The y-axis is usually the probability of detection. No, sorry, the observed distribution. So basically, the number of birds, the abundance, or yeah. Don't worry about the y-axis right now. The x-axis is the distance from the observer. Just remember that. Karnika, was your answer for this 15 question, right? Not for the last question. I suppose your answer was for 15. Yes, okay. Yep, okay. So the answer is A. And I think this was covered by Umesh in the Umesh's lecture, the second one, I think. And well, he's just showing it with the histogram, but the shape is there. So you might want to revisit that lecture in case. And I mean, I can't. Yeah, go on.
In simple terms, it's just the multiplication of the two graphs.
Yes, it is. So the question is may not work as in may not be technically correct. Because the assumptions are not or assumptions are clearly violated. All right, a lot of people have answered D, some people have answered B, and some people have answered A. Okay, the answer is all of the above. So using road as a transect can actually violate the assumption that we are laying the transect randomly. Using road as a transect would mean some of the birds which are used to the roads will be counted more, and some of the birds that avoid roads will be counted less. And that example has been given by Umesh also, where he says that something like what's the dove called, emerald dove, which is usually found on the roads, would be counted more, and something like a trogon, which is found away from the roads, would be counted less. And surveying birds that follow human along the transect for flushed insects, this has happened a lot of time, where the birds have followed the observer for a really long time. So there might be a chance that you will keep counting the same bird again and again, and the assumption is basically the speed of the bird would be less than the speed of the observer. So that can, I mean, the thing over here is also that the bird that you counted at a point A has not flown and gone to point B where you're counting it again. So basically that is to avoid repeated counting. Then then C is basically surveys where some birds are missed along the transect line. So we have seen, or we know by now that the probability of detection of birds decreases as you go away from the transect line, the central line. So so that would mean that the probability of detecting a bird on the transect line should be 1 and not below that. So you have to make sure that the birds that are on the transect line, while you are there as an observer, you have to properly identify the bird. So that's the whole thing. So that's the whole assumption that we are following. Yes, Govind.
So I didn't quite understand option C. Could you please repeat that?
Okay, so when you're doing a transect study, the assumption that you saw this diagram, right, where the probability of detection is like this. So as you move away from the line, the probability of detection also reduces. That you understood, right, Govind?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the probability at zero distance is basically 1. That means that whatever bird is on the transect line, you would have to identify that, and you don't want to miss that bird. I mean, if if the transect, or if the study is happening where you're missing a lot of birds on the transect line, that means it's not following the assumption properly. So that means you might have to reconsider the study with another observer who's much more expert at detecting the bird which is particularly on the transect line. So if that, I mean, so basically the assumption over here is that this detection probability is always 1 on the transect line. So that's the whole point. I suppose I've made it clear. So yeah, that's one of the assumptions. Did you get it, Govind?
Well, I got what you meant, that the first bird on the transect line will always be detectable, but I didn't get how that related to option C, sir.
How? What do you mean?
What option C says that some birds along the transect line would be missed, right, sir?
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. Technically shouldn't be.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. A lot many of you are answering, so I'll just give you the answer. The answer is point count. There's a particular study that Umesh is mentioning in his lecture, where the point count and the line transect method has been compared with the census method, and they found that point count method has been overestimating a little bit more than the line transect. Both line transect and point count overestimate, but a little bit more is being overestimated by is estimated by the point count method. The census technique, the what is the spot mapping technique? It's there in that. I mean, this answer is for Vedang's question. What was it compared to consider appropriate estimation? Which other techniques overestimates? I don't know. I don't know. I'm really not sure. Did we lose Lakshmi? Is she there? Not there.
She left some time back.
Okay.
She mentioned that she has several power and internet problems right now.
Oh yeah. I forgot. Yeah. Anyways, the answer to this is I think the last question. So the answer to this is line transect, because first of all, like question 17, point count overestimates the number, so line transects are better, and in that sense, and point count is generally done where it is the terrain is very tough or the vegetation is very dense. So these are the places where point count is done instead of line transect, which cannot be done in all kind of terrains and habitats. But grasslands, definitely someone can easily do a line transect method. So yeah, mark recapture, yeah, when I said appropriate, it also means like a lot of effort wise. Mark recapture can take a lot of effort for a person, but yeah. So that would be the end of today's session. Oh no, there's one more question, sorry. Bonus. Sorry, the first option is counting the number of individual birds is not possible. It's not high, it's not possible. Option A is counting the number of individuals is not possible or is not feasible. But people who have answered D, do you think B and C are actually disadvantages?
They sound more like advantages.
Exactly.
Because it could skew the survey.
But our
I mean, that
point of the survey is to get as many birds as possible, right?
In fact, before you mentioned corrected option A, I began to think that you meant advantages and not disadvantages.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I mean, Rusbe, the point of a survey is to just get as many species possible, as many individuals of the species possible.
right,
Yeah.
right, but without skewing your results.
Without
I mean, if
skewing
there's
your
a-
results.
yeah.
Yes, definitely. But say, for example, yeah, without skewing your results. Yeah. All right. So the answer is very obvious now. It's A. I'll correct this thing. Anyways. All right then. This is the end of the session. I think I have not come up with any more question. No. Anyways, should we say our goodbyes then? Thank you for attending. Yeah. Yes, Karnika, you have a question or are you saying goodbye?
No, I had a question.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, typically, how many questions are there, or could be probably, in the paper, and whether it's going to be on a pen and paper or if it's going to be on a computer screen?
I think there are 100 questions, as far as I remember, for 2 hours. All of them objective and would be on a screen, I suppose. The screen
But,
part I can confirm.
Considering the amount of time that I'm taking, because I'm second guessing so much,
Ah.
that I'm just wondering how am I going to kind of
Karnika,
divide my time.
I don't think the question that I am presenting over here. We were told. So when we first came up, I mean, when we were first the first lecture or first whatever discussion session that we had, I basically didn't bother to pick many questions out of the lecture. So the questions were mostly from the lectures, and probably I mean but the professor said that no, I mean, since you have the option of discussing other things that can be I mean that you guys can be exposed to. So then I started picking questions from the papers that were already published in this field or in this whatever lecture that was on. So I understand that what I mean, some of the questions were from those papers and were not discussed in the lecture. So it might have been little difficult than usual, but definitely the question paper would be easier than what I have. I mean, I'm not saying that I have set a very difficult question or I am being difficult or something. It's just that yeah.
No, in fact, thank you so much for setting these questions, because it opens up so much more. It opens the mind, and it's great to know so much more apart from what is being told to us in the
Yeah,
lectures. And
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you so very much. That actually brings a relief also, because I was getting a bit nervous in the middle of the questionnaire, because I felt a few of my questions were going wrong. The other. The other mention that I wanted was Dr. Suhel, in one of his addresses. I'm not too sure, was it on a live session or, but yes, I think it was probably on on a live session. He mentioned that some of the questions would also be descriptive. Now,
That's what I assumed
Oh,
from
he
his
said that?
lecture.
I don't think, because then we'll have to check them. No, I When did he say this?
I think in one of the
Very beginning lecture, the
Like-
first lectures or something?
No, recently.
no, I think in the session, live session or something, if I remember correctly.
No. I don't think so. Because if it was,
So,
if
so
it,
last year it was all objective, you're saying?
yeah. Last year it was all objective. There, within the assignments, there were a few subjective questions that we had to check ourselves. So it was a pain. But this year they agreed not to give objective questions at all. So probably he was messing with you or something. But I can confirm and get back to you the next time. I don't think there would be subjective questions.
Sir, what do you by subjective questions you mean?
Paragraph.
Written-
Yeah.
He may, sir, I think he mentioned that most of them would be MCQs and a few of them would be paragraph questions. At least a few typed or written questions.
I'm as far as I know, I can confirm though. I can confirm.
Because I remember asking a question if they'd all be MCQs. He said most would be MCQs, some would be written.
Yeah. Pattern is very similar to the weekly assignments, except there are 50 questions. See, yeah, 50, not 100. No, 100. 50.
I am just quoting Dr. Suhel Quader
Okay.
from the group. So he answered to Shweta's question, I think. He's saying will be mostly MCQ, but may include few descriptive questions too. So I do not know exactly.
No. That is like an extra burden on us. I don't think he'll do that. But yeah, I'll confirm that because it's something that I'll have to invest time as well. Anyways, all right. I'll do that. I'll confirm.
Then?
Sorry.
Like, it will be 50 questions. You're saying then?
No, it would be 100.
100.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
100.
but back to what I think Karnika was asking. Was it on the computer or on a paper?
I think it's on a computer.
Okay.
Yeah, there would be this thing, exam center, and it would be on a computer because then it would be automatically the scores would be given to you automatically, and there would not be a third person to correct your paper because we are only 3 TAs and most of there's Chiti and me, and most of our time goes on in this right now, and we are not focusing more on the technical or the admin part of the course right now, which is given by Sonia right now. The time is given by Sonia right now. So we are the only 3 people, and definitely we're expecting at least 1,000 examinees. So that's not humanly possible for us to check with the time frame that we have. So
That also means that we get the score as we submit the last answer.
Yes, you'll get it immediately. All right. I think we have overshot by 8-10 minutes. So, anyways, this is goodbye. So we'll see you next week. All right. Govind, you have a question, or you're saying goodbye? Okay.
Just small question. Sorry to bother you,
Yes,
sir.
Govind, go ahead.
In one of these questions, you mentioned stationary associations. I didn't quite get that. What are by stationary associations you mean?
Associations which do not move basically. Preeti has defined it, I think, in the lecture. You can probably you can access that as well. And associations of bird, like mixed species associations which do not move, which are more resource centric, so they will be like stationary for one particular at one particular point, spatial.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyways, so all right, this is final. Bye. Good night.